Well, hey friends and neighbors, this is Chuck out at Sheridan Park Farms. Welcome back to the farm. It's cold. We are expected to get somewhere between, according to the weather guessers, a trace and 3 feet of snow over the next, well, about 2 days now, I think, 2 or 3 days. But anyway, those of you that have been with the channel for a while know what this is and what this means. We've got some baby chicks. Let me bring you in, take a look, let me show you what we got going on here, and I got a story to tell about these guys. All right, what we have here are 60, actually I think we're down to about 58, 60-ish bundles of cuteness. I mean, look at this. Have y'all ever seen anything as adorable as a baby chicken? So these are Cornish cross. These are the very first meat birds that we're going to be getting for the 2025 season. Now, I've got a little bit of a story to tell about these guys. These came in about 3 days ago, and we had ordered these from a hatchery, and I don't remember which hatchery. Sandra handles all that. But we got a call from the post office in Greensboro, North Carolina, saying that we had a batch of chicks at the post office. Well, the problem is that post office is about an hour and a half away from where we live. And the hatchery had shipped these birds to the post office that serviced our address, which we had used as the mailing address, or excuse me, as the billing address. We'd always used a P.O. box in Pleasant Garden, North Carolina as our shipping address because it was actually physically closer than the post office that served the farm down there. So got the call, called neighbor Greg. I don't know if y'all watched the channel for a while, you remember neighbor Greg. Said, hey man, because this was like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Called neighbor Greg and said, hey man, we're in a pickle. We've got these birds that have showed up at the post office and we're not there. They're ready to be picked up. So Greg and his wife, run down to the post office, picked these birds up for us. We went by their house and picked them up and got them home, and we got them in the brooder. Let's talk a little bit about the brooder real quick, and then I want to talk to you about some chicken issues that are really popping up that are very, very prominent in the news and in society right now. And we'll get to all that, but let's talk about this brooder and what we got going on here real quick. So first off on this brooder, this is a brooder that we had, I don't remember which one's which now. We had bought a brooder like this a couple of years ago, right as we were getting started farming. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, went and picked it up. Guy had built it for a customer of his. They ended up not using it, so we ended up picking it up. I liked it so good that I rebuilt another one. I've got another one right over here that's exactly like it. And if y'all would like a set of plans for these, I've got plans for how to build these. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And if you want one, if you want a set of plans, you can pick them up. But these houses, you can see, we've started 60 birds in here with no problem. And I get the question all the time, how many chickens can you brood in there? Well, it depends. It depends on how long you want to leave them. Now we've got 60 birds in here. They're very comfortable right now. We could have started 100 without any problem. Depending upon how long you're going to leave those birds in that brooder really determines what size it needs to be. Now we are fortunate in that cold time of year, we're not going to put these birds out on pasture for a while. And we know that. They're going to have to stay in a brooder for a while. And we're prepared for that. The nice thing is we've got some bigger brooders outside. When they get a little bit more size on them, if we need to, we can split them up into the two, or I can move them out into one of the big ones out in the barnyard out here. So you can start 100 in here comfortably. If you're going to be leaving them for 3-4 weeks or whatever, you're probably going to want to cut that number by at least 30%, 50%, just kind of depends. You'll just have to kind of gauge how fast your birds are growing. Cornish, these are all Cornish cross. Of course, they grow quickly. So they will have to move out into another brooder, into some more space in a couple of weeks. And we're prepared for that. That's no big deal. But this brooder, we're about 6 foot by about 3 foot. Real simple to build. There's nothing fancy about it at all. The plans are very self-descriptive. They show you exactly what cuts to make, what pieces of material you need, all that kind of thing. And like I said, I'll leave a link in the description down below for those if you want one. But you know, you can use about anything for a brooder. We use these. You can use these stock tanks over here. You know, you see these over at Tractor Supply. Of course, mine's full of fence posts right now. You can use these stock tanks that you get at Tractor Supply. They work fine if you're only brooding 4 or 5 birds. You can, you know, a small Rubbermaid tub works fine. I've seen folks use their bathtub. You know, you got a spare bathroom that you're not using, or a spare bathroom in the part of the house that's not being, you know, nobody uses. You can put your chickens in a bathtub if you need to do that. I mean, there's lots of different ways that you can do it. But starting chicks, you know, we'll talk about this more in a few minutes. But right now, if you want chickens, particularly laying birds, and let's talk about the difference. You've got meat birds and you've got laying birds, and then you've got dual purpose. We're going to stick with meat birds and laying birds. If you want chickens that are going to lay you eggs, you need to get them now. And if you get them now, you're not going to get eggs until June, because maybe July, because it takes those birds about 16 to 20 weeks to get up to size to where they're ready to lay. So if you're wanting laying birds, now's the time to go ahead and get them in your brooders, get them started. This is a great way to start. Stock tanks are a great way to start if you don't have carpentry skills, or you can't get materials, or you just don't want to build one. Stock tanks are another great way to go. Rubbermaid tubs, bathtubs, anything that you can put those birds in. Put some kind of light, some kind of heat source, have some shavings for some bedding, and a place to feed and water. That's all you need for a brooder. Doesn't have to be complicated at all. I've never, let me ask, is this brooder okay, or you want something different? Never had one to complain. They're all very happy with it. So whatever you can use as a brooder, get you one, and get you started with some chickens. All right, so what have you got in the brooder? Well, we just use some shavings, and you can get these at your local feed and seed farm and garden store. We buy them from a local sawmill. I don't use sawdust because it's too fine and the chicks will eat it. It'll get in their crop and stop them up, and it'll give them a hard time. But shavings works good. I like these smaller, finer shavings because the chicks do a much better job of scratching this around. On the bigger flake style, those flakes are, you know, probably, you know, 3 or 4 times that size of that right there. The manure does tend to cake on top, and they don't do as good job of scratching it up. But just some shavings in the bottom for bedding. When you're ready to change the shavings, there's no need to take them out. Just put you some more shavings on top and just build you some deep litter. Start building up a little bit of composting material. Those shavings and that manure will start to compost naturally. It'll provide a little bit of heat coming up from the bottom, as well as the lamps that you've got. Works out great, works fantastic. So do the deep litter method. That's what we've done. That's what we've always done. And then the end of the year, or whenever it gets so full and you need to trade it out, pull it out, put it in your compost bin, start your compost running for your garden or flower beds or whatever you want to use that for. We use a couple of feeders. This is just a small feeder. We got it from Tractor Supply. We use a nice high quality chick starter. I think we go with about a 26% protein. I'm not exactly sure what Sandra gets. She kind of manages all that, but just a good high quality chick starter. And then over here we've got a 3-gallon drinker. I started out with some of these little old small drinkers in this thing, and those birds were going through a small drinker, about a gallon of water every, I don't know, 12 hours or so. So we've put a bigger drinker in there, and that seems to be servicing them pretty well. On lamps, a couple different ways you can go with lamps. I buy these from Hog Slat. They sell pig equipment. Buy these from Hog Slat. They're a little bit more expensive. The thing that I like about them is they've got this very, very deep well. So if this thing falls, if it comes off of the nail and falls down in there, you've got plenty of space between the light and your shavings. I've had these to fall, and I've had smolder spots, but I've never had anything catch on fire. These also last much, much better than those El Cheapo deals that you get at the local feed and seed farm and garden kind of store. You know, those old silver colored things. I think I've thrown all mine away by now. But these are from Hog Slat. I think they're 13, 14 bucks a piece. I've got probably a dozen of those suckers. Love them. They work great. I'll leave a link for them in the description down below if you'd like to go over and find those and see if you can pick them up. They may be available on Amazon. I'll look and see, and if they are, I'll put a link to that as well. Feed, water every day, keep a check on your chicks, make sure that everybody's good to go. Works fine. These, these birds are very, very easy to raise. Now, one thing that we do is this time of year, not quite as much, but especially whenever we start getting into the warmer season, you want to make sure that you've got some warm areas and then some shaded areas. These, well, not shaded, but areas where the chicks can get away from those lights. They are going to thermoregulate themselves based on how much heat they need. If they need to be warmer, they'll move under the light. If they get hot and they need to move out, or they need to cool off, they'll move out. So make sure you've got some gradations of temperature, warm areas versus cool areas for these birds to get in and move around so that they can regulate their temperature, and they'll do fine. They're tough. These animals are pretty tough, and they'll take care of themselves. So warm areas, cool areas, feed, water, shavings, protection. I've got a lock on this lid. I've had raccoons getting these things. Raccoons will wipe out a batch of chicks on you in just a few minutes. So we've got a lock on it, and then I lay a couple of big heavy tires on it so we don't have any problems with predators, cats, raccoons, possums, skunks, anything like that getting in there and messing with them. Chick care and a brooder, super easy. If we can do it, anybody can. Another thing that we do here, especially this time of year with it being February and all, I've got a piece of this foam board insulation over top of my brooder. I've got a moving blanket on top. That really helps to keep the heat in. I think last night we got down into the mid-20s, and you can see those birds, it did not affect them at all. They're doing great. And then, like I said, I've got a couple of old tires. We just put these on top. We've had some bad wind. This helps keep the blanket and the insulation on there, keep the lid down, and also it makes it tough for any kind of critter that wants to get in there and have a little chicken nugget. Makes it hard for them to get in because that's laying on top. All right, babies, let's ride. Come on, Ruben. Sophie, let's go. Come on. Stupid geese. All right, so this is our egg mobile, and so the way this deal works, we've got nesting boxes that are mounted on the walls over here. See if they'll hush. And in the afternoons, we come out and gather eggs. I'm gathering them a little earlier today for video purposes. But in the afternoon, we come out, gather eggs, and then we will close these nest boxes off with these bars. And we just put them right across the front. And the reason that we do that is to keep the birds from sleeping in there. Chickens will poo where they sleep. And if you keep them from sleeping in there, pooping in there, you get nice clean eggs. And so these, I just got that right out of the nest box. It's perfectly clean, there's nothing wrong with it. So keep your nest boxes clean, keep your eggs clean. Looks like we need to put some shavings in these nest boxes. Getting kind of bare. These old buff Orpingtons, they can get broody, and they can be the aggravatingest chickens to deal with. Come here. I know you're mad. I know you're mad. I know you're mad. Good Lord, what a clutch. I'm not gonna close these guys off. All right, go on. I'm not gonna close these guys off just yet. It's still kind of early in the day. We'll come back out after a while and finish gathering what they lay this afternoon, close them off, and that should take care of them for the night. We do need to put some more shavings in these nest boxes. Good gracious. We've got a haul today. I think I said it, but just for good measure. Stupid geese. Good Lord. All right, based on egg prices, that ought to get me about a week in the Cayman Islands. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of this chicken and egg fear that's going on right now. Heard a lot of folks talking about going to the grocery store. Talked to a guy yesterday about going to the grocery store, and eggs were $8 and $9 a dozen for not those El Cheapo grade A dozen Laura Lynn or whatever the house brand white eggs are, but you get down to, you know, some of the better eggs that are $8 and $9 a dozen, and even in some places like California where they're like $12 and $13 a dozen. So, but we have gone up on our egg prices this year. Last year I think we were at 6. This year we've gone to 8. Feed prices have gone up, and labor costs have gone up. Caring for birds have gone up. I mean, you know, everything goes up. It's just kind of the price of the cost of doing business. So we have had to go up on our eggs. And I see a lot of people on a lot of forums, homesteading groups, that kind of thing. People are looking for chickens and looking for chickens so that they can have eggs. And while I understand the sentiment, I really, really do, folks need to make, you know, if you're going to do that, you need to make sure you're going in with your eyes wide open. That's why I was talking about, you know, the brooder care out there a while ago. And on your birds like what we've got out here, there's about 180, 200 chickens in there, somewhere in that neighborhood. There are some roosters, but there's quite a few hens in there. You got to be ready to care for them. You got to have a place to care for them. We've got this egg mobile that we built a few years ago out of just we found an old trailer frame, we stripped it down, and we built this egg mobile on it. And we move it out here around. If you've been watching the channel, you know what we do. We move this thing out here around on the pasture about once a week, give them fresh grass and that kind of thing. We've had a lot of rain past few days, and so we've got a little bit of a muddy spot right here. So it's, you know, it's time to move. Whenever we move them, we'll put them on some fresh grass, and all that will eventually come back, and it'll be nice and green and all that kind of thing. But you got to have a place to house them. You got to have some nest boxes. You got to be prepared to buy feed. You got to be prepared to care for their run. There are daily chores that go along with managing chickens. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody from doing that, but if you're going to do it, be prepared, especially if you're starting from chicks. You're 4 months out from your first egg. You're going to have a lot of money invested in buying chicks, raising them to size, and then those first batches of eggs. So what can you do to mitigate some of that? Well, one thing that you can do is continue buying from a local farmer. Find somebody close to you. There's lots of neighbors and friends, I'm sure, close to where you are, unless you're living in a city, you know, in New York City or something like that. You're probably not going to get chickens anyway. But there are neighbors and folks that have chickens that are glad to sell or give you eggs. So just start reaching out, find you some buddies, some people that you go to church with, people that you work with, parents of your kids, friends at school, ball teams and that kind of thing. Find somebody that's got some birds that you can buy some eggs off of. Also, look for some ready to lay pullets. And whenever you're buying chickens, when you go down to Tractor Supply or you go to Rural King, you go to the feed and seed store, and you want to get chickens that are going to lay eggs, you want to get pullets. Pullets are young female chickens. Female chickens are the ones that lay eggs. Male chickens don't lay eggs. Male chickens at some point in their life can't decide they want to lay eggs. That's just not how the deal works. So you want to get pullets. Don't get cockerels. You want to get pullets. Those are the young female chickens that are going to grow up to be hens. But you can find folks that have chickens that are, you know, they're selling them. From time to time, we will sell a few of these. We'll sell some of our older birds that are not producing what we need because we are an enterprise. We'll sell those to homesteaders or families that, you know, those birds are still going to lay. They're not going to lay an egg a day. They may lay an egg every 3 or 4 days, but it's fine for a family. So look for somebody that's got ready to lay pullets or somebody that's retiring some hens. And then breeds. It doesn't matter what breed you get the breed that you like. You know, if you like Brahmas, get Brahmas. If you like Dominickers, get Dominickers. If you like Easter eggers, get Easter eggers. If you like some of these hybrid chickens like the red sex links, get those. It doesn't matter. They're all going to lay, you know, they're going to lay the eggs. And, you know, if you like blue eggs, get you a blue egg layer. If you like white eggs, get you a white egg layer. If you like brown eggs, get you a brown egg layer. Here's something that folks won't tell you. They're all the same. They really are. There's no difference in a brown and a white or a blue, except for the color of the shell. Crack that shell open on that blue egg right there and look on the inside of it, and it's white. The only thing that makes the color is just the pigmentation that chicken lays off whenever she lays that egg, and those are breed dependent. Another thing, don't wash your eggs. Keep your nest boxes clean so that your eggs stay clean. There's one that's a little dirty, but it's fine. But keep your nest boxes clean so that your eggs stay clean. When the chicken lays an egg, she puts a mucus coating on that thing called the bloom. Now these shells are very porous. They're calcium. And whenever she puts that bloom or that mucus coating on there, it prevents bacteria from getting into that egg, and it prevents the contents of the egg from evaporating out. So by leaving that on there, you've got a natural protectant on that egg. When you wash it and you wash that bloom off, now bacteria and things can get into that egg, and you've got to put it in the refrigerator. Around here, we don't wash our eggs, we don't refrigerate our eggs. Yeah, they've got just a little bit of poo and maybe some shavings and that kind of stuff on them, but for the most part, look at that. That egg is perfectly clean. That one too. There's a pretty blue one. It's perfectly clean. Got a little piece of shaving on it, but you know, perfectly clean egg. Then you can leave them out on your counter for 3 or 4 weeks. So get you some ready to lay pullets or raise you up some chicks. But if you're interested in chickens, they're a great little enterprise to have. They're a good opportunity for your kids if you've got children, for them to learn some responsibility, daily feeding, daily water, gathering the eggs, cleaning out the brooder, cleaning out the run or whatever the hen house, whatever they're in. But chickens are just a great little example of things that you can, you know, great little thing to do on the homestead or the farm or just in your neighborhood if that's what you want. But we ordered, like I was saying earlier on these meat chickens, we ordered those. Sandra ordered those a few weeks ago, and whenever we got these in, we got ready to order some more. And y'all, we're having a hard time finding them. I don't know if this whole avian influenza thing has got the hatchery shut down, if they're running scared, if there's just been a run on birds or what the case is, but we've been having trouble finding meat chickens to raise out for our farm customers this year, and we're not sure how that's going to flush out. She did find a hatchery, I forget where it was, and I think she ordered about 120 birds to be here in a couple of weeks, so we'll run another batch of them here pretty soon. What we would like to do is every other week get about 100 or 120 birds and just kind of keep that rotation going so that we've always got fresh chicken and we've always got birds on pasture. We've got some in the brooder. We've kind of got them in all steps of the life cycle. That seems to work out pretty well for us, and that helps us with the keep in stock so that we're matching that burn rate, the amount of chicken that we're actually selling based on what we done last year. We don't know how things are going to go this year. We will see. Yeah, we've had a little bit of trouble finding those meat birds right out of the gate so far here at late winter, early spring. So there you go. A few eggs, some meat chickens, plenty of birds out here on pasture, and snow coming. We're thinking spring, but man, snow's coming. It's just, I'm ready to mow yard. Can't believe me saying that. So anyway, like we always say, please keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you on the next video.